They're really doing it. They're really going to do an Abby season 3. Hello, welcome to Gaming Gain. My name is Muzz, and I've just finished The Last of Us season 2, episode 7. So that is season 2 done and dusted, and I'll give kind of an overall, I think, the kind of overview of my thoughts of the season as a whole at the end. But I'm sure if you've been keeping up with these videos, you know my opinion on it, and I've definitely not hidden it. This episode, was alright. It was alright. There was some emotional scenes in there. There was some key scenes. There was a lot cut out, which I'm actually surprised at. Although maybe that'll come to fruition in season 3. So this is for spoilers, this is the episode where Ellie goes and tries to find Abby. She ends up meeting Owen and the woman who is pregnant. That is her name. I can't remember it for the life of me. And she kills them both. And I gotta say, pretty harrowing scene. They do not skirt away from what Ellie has done. They make it more of an accident than in the video game, I believe, in terms of she's got Owen and the woman up at gunpoint, and Owen goes to grab a gun and shoots him what a shot, directly through the neck, and then the bullet then passes through Owen into, it's an unbelievable shot, into the woman's neck, and the woman is then like, you need to perform a C-section, and yeah, I thought they were going to go, but ultimately it doesn't happen. So yeah, Ellie took 3 lives. I don't know why I laughed at that. That's pretty horrendous thing. And anyway, it's a key part of the scene. I thought it was well acted. Thought Bella done really well with the gravitas of the moment. Definitely the emotions from her. I did get a bit like, oh, she's got me here. With when she realised what she's done, you can see the look on her face and the kind of shock at what she has done. So really well acted. Then we get to the final scene in which Abby turns up, obviously pissed off, and kills Jesse. We'll get to that. And it's where they end it, and with a gunshot. And then next season, as I alluded to, will be all about Abby. Which, you know what? I am actually interested to see how they try and flesh out Abby's characters, because we've not really seen her that much, similar to the game, up until this point. So it seems like they're going to potentially do 4 seasons of The Last of Us, if you're thinking, or maybe half of next season will be Abby's perspective, and then the second half of the season will be focused on Ellie and Abby after Abby confronts him in the theatre. But there's a lot of kind of stuff that happens before that. Obviously, Jesse turns up, and oh my god, they foreshadow his death something awful. Like, it is unbelievable how much they are trying to be like if you know if you know the game, you know Jesse's gonna die. They make it point to give Jesse so much weight for the story going forward. He's going to be the next Maria at home. He's got a potential love interest that he's got somewhere else. He's going to be a dad. Oh, and he actually says, I can't die. I can't die now, I'm a dad. And you're like, right, we get it. You're building him up. You're building, it's going to be like, they could have done this over a period of time, but no. It's like, oh, it feels like the whole episode is Jesse's explaining, like, I can't die. I cannot die. And then he dies. Like, not subtle whatsoever from the show creators. But again, think his scenes are well acted. Think he does have some good counterpoints to Ellie's argument. Like, they have a good dynamic in terms of, like, they are, like, Jesse's certainly more of someone who is like a leader in the sense of like trying to follow the rules and stick to the rules, and ensure that everyone is looked after fairly, whereas Ellie's more of a rogue. She kind of goes off on her own thing. And they have this dynamic of like good and bad, and there's situations where a really good point made by Ellie is like they watch a Scar get taken, dragged off, and he's going to potentially be, he is going to be tortured and killed. And Ellie's like, you didn't save him when you had a chance to save him. And he's like, yeah, it's not in my community. It's like, exactly, not in your community. Well, my community was my community was beaten in front of me to death and then stabbed. And you can see in the face of Jesse that he's like, oh, that's actually quite a good point. We see Tommy again, thankfully, for a brief moment before he is beaten up and almost killed. I don't think he does die, to be honest. I can't remember. It's been so long since I played The Last of Us Part 2. That's Dina and Ellie have kind of a good scene where they talk about the events of what happened, and then they're like, yeah, we should just go. But ultimately, yeah, I can see why people are like, if you know The Last of Us, you knew this was going to come at some point, the kind of turn into Abby storyline, and it definitely feels like exactly is how it happened in the game. You get to the game in the theatre and it just completely goes into Abby's storyline. So I will be interested to see what they do. The stadium that they were in looked class. Like, I've got to say, they really done well with just the visuals and the cinematography in this show has been really good. I think we're going to move on to kind of the season overview. All in all, for a season of The Last of Us Part 2, there are good things, but ultimately it is still a show about The Last of Us Part 2, which has, in my opinion, huge problems with the story. I would completely rewrite it. I would have completely... Like, I think you can have all the stuff that happens to Joel and all that, like, but just extend it. Like, give us something before. Give us a reintroduction to the characters, to the relationship. Let us build up. Let us see them go through the kind of highs and lows of the relationship, and then kill them off. And then you go to Seattle, and then you've given, I think, Bella Ramsey more time to actually understand the character better and flesh out Ellie's kind of maturity levels at that stage. And you get Pedro Pascal in it for longer. Like, who doesn't want more Pedro Pascal? But yeah, man, I was hoping they would do something different, and ultimately they have not. They've actually taken out, I think, one of the more interesting parts of the... And again, it could be in season 3, but the two scars that you kind of join it with, and maybe that was more Abby's storyline actually, and the war between the wolves and the scars. So I hope that is in season 3. So if that's in season 3, all these counterpoints or these negatives will be invalid when season 3 comes out. But yeah, I do think there was some dodgy decision with the writing. I think the infected were a real high point. I think they handled the infected a lot better this season. There were a lot more of them. The attack on Jacksonville was fantastic. Gave me Game of Thrones, White Walker vibes. And the subway scene in particular as well, the stalker, like the practical effects are outstanding. As I say, the set, like, it's a big budget show, and you can tell that there's a lot of effort and hard work that goes into making this show. Like, they're not cutting any corners with the set design. They're really, I think, putting their best foot forward in that front. I think some of the acting, especially from the two leads, I think Pedro's like just a class act. I think Bella's had some high points with the acting and some low points. Like, I'm going to be a dad. That's one of the more cringier lines I've heard in a TV show in a while. And tonally, I think the show's been a bit all over the place. Like, you've got Belly, Jesus, Ellie and Dina, who are kind of goofing around, goofballs, and then it goes into just like hard cuts of like people getting murdered, and you're like, geez, that was a bit of a juxtaposition, that. So ultimately, it's not as good as the first season. Ultimately, I think that for the game as well. I would have rather they made some changes to the season. They have not done that. They have pretty much followed the story beat for beat with the addition of the Jacksonville attack, which, as I said, is a positive. However, like I was going to give it a rating, 7, 7 out of 10. Whereas I think the first one wasn't a 10, because the game's a 10. Like an 8.5, maybe even version of a 9 if I watched that. Bills episode again. It just gets me, that episode, man. That is one of the best episodes of television that has been made in the past. I don't know how long, but even thinking about it now, I'm getting emotional. Like, just such a good episode. But I digress. Season 2 was fun. It was good. Like, for a season of The Last of Us Part 2, it was good. Season 3 I'm actually interested for. I will say that. I am interested. That's what my words today. I am interested in seeing what they do with Abby's character and how they develop her, because we've not seen a bit. We've seen bits of it, but not really. So I'm interested to see that. I'm interested to see, like, they've got the Last of Us franchise now. So I hope they do spin-offs, and I hope we see a lot more of the wolves, scars kind of politics that are going on. Like, the world of The Last of Us is just so interesting in terms of, like, the different factions that kind of grow out of the apocalypse and the infected, and how they are evolving to almost combat the changes that humans have made to the way they live. So I'm interested. I'm going to 100% watch it. Like, has it been a disaster? No, I don't think The Last of Us Part 2 was a disaster either. I just think it was a game that ultimately had a lot of hype, and it didn't meet the levels of storytelling that I felt it could have achieved. I think it's still obviously like an incredible achievement in game design. The settings, the enemies with individual names, unbelievable stuff. But same with the TV show, the story lets it down. The story is ultimately what carries The Last of Us in both scenarios. It is let down by that. So that is just my 2 cents. That is, I hope you've enjoyed this kind of longer review process. I don't do this too often, where I review individual episodes and then give individual videos on them, but I've enjoyed doing it with The Last of Us. It has been, because I think it's an easy one to talk about in terms of, like, the kind of what I'd like to see from it versus what they're actually doing. But hey ho, we're at the end. Season 3 is coming. I'll watch it and we'll be back here again. So what do you think about Season 2? What do you think about the last episode? Do you kind of agree it's maybe a bit anticlimactic? Or do you think, yeah, that's how they should have ended it, going into Season 3? And talk to me about Season 2. Did you enjoy it? Would you rate it higher than what I'm trying to give it? Would you rate it lower? I mean, I could understand that. Definitely. But let me know down in the comments below. Let's have a conversation, people. Let's do it. With all that being said, all that's left to say is any thoughts, comments, general hostile remarks, leave them below. I went far too early there. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.